Hi, my name is Maria, and I thought I would share my personal story with you. As some of you may know, my personal motto is follow the breadcrumbs. My belief is that the universe, God, Buddha, whatever you believe in, provides you with these breadcrumbs to help you on your path to your most abundant and wonderful life. You're not left to fend for yourself or figure it out. We really do have the support of God and the universe helping us on our way. How my personal story goes is I grew up in a very conservative Christian household, and I knew very young that I was able to sense energy and have a healing ability. But the messages that I received from parents and my religion was that anything of this nature was considered evil, bad, from the devil. So I never really shared those abilities with anybody. I never vocalized what I was feeling or how I was feeling. How this came out of me was I was very emotional as a child because I couldn't really explain being an empath. Also, I was gathering other people's energy and emotions, and it just left me feeling very off-centered, ungrounded. Being a natural healer and not really understanding how to do this without depleting myself, and not having a support system around me at that time to help me grow into that power and use it appropriately so that I was well. I denied that at a very, very young age. And not to say, I mean, my parents are great parents, don't get me wrong. They just didn't, I just knew instinctively or intuitively, if you like, that I just could not vocalize this to them. So I never did. It was really tough being a kid. I felt very isolated and alone. I didn't understand the emotions that were going on, and very fearful because I could sense energies, and I really just didn't have the energetic dictionary to know whether that was good or bad. And in my world, in my belief system at the time was this is all bad. So it left me feeling very, very fearful. I was so frightened to fall asleep all the time. I would end up, crawling, sneaking in and sleeping on the floor of my parents' room or my brother's room. I mean, up until age even 15, 16 years old, I was still doing that. But eventually, I became an adult, and my path to the person you see before you, my path to recognizing and understanding and growing my own energetic dictionary happened around 2011. In a big way in 2011. I always wanted to help people. That was a calling for me, and I just didn't understand how I could do that. So the best way that I could find to do that at the time was I became a certified nursing assistant. And I really still felt like I could still do so much more, so much more. So I eventually became a LPN, a licensed practical nurse. And very early in my career as an LPN, the messages from people around me were that, you're never going to amount to anything if you stay an LPN. You're never going to make an impact on people's lives if you still stay an LPN. You're never going to make the money that you want. You need this higher degree. You need to go on and get your RN if you're ever going to make an impact on patients' lives. And you're really smart and you're a really good nurse. You really shouldn't waste your talents. And even though when I thought about becoming an RN, or I said the word RN, it never really truly resonated with me. But I thought maybe this is a self-worth issue. So maybe I just need to, if everybody else is saying I should be an RN, well, then I must have to be an RN. So I decided that I would try and become an RN. And again, following the breadcrumbs, the universe sets out these things for us to follow, and if we don't follow them, it becomes really apparent. So I, not even aware of breadcrumbs at this point, and I enroll into a online program for nursing. Didn't work for me. Didn't like it. Just didn't, on all levels, it just wasn't good for me. So I thought, well, if I'm supposed to be an RN, maybe I'm just supposed to go to an old-fashioned brick and mortar school. Maybe I'm just a hands-on kind of learner. So I enroll in my local nursing school or college actually, and I go in the springtime. The nursing semester starts every fall. So I meet with the nursing advisor and I say, listen, I am an adult learner. I have 2 children at home and 1 on the way. And I really need you to tell me how I can get from A to B, in a direct fashion, and so I can do an accelerated program. So we map out all of my coursework that I need to do to get through the nursing program. She assured me once I finished this spring semester that I would be eligible to go into the program in the fall. I take all of the courses and I apply for the program, and I'm told, sorry, you can't get into the nursing program. You didn't do anything you were supposed to do to get into the nursing program. Imagine my surprise, because I followed the direction of their nursing advisor. So they said, well, we understand that you were following their advice, so here's what we'll do for you. You can take all the courses you need over the summer. If you've never taken summer courses, A, they're not funded by financial aid, and B, they're only 5 weeks in length. And where I went to school, there was 2 5-week sessions. During those 2 5-week sessions, I had to take chemistry, biology, and math courses, all these really crazy hard courses. Anybody who knows me, math is totally not my strong suit. I said, okay, I'm going to do what I have to do. I'll go all summer. I went the chemistry course that I wound up having to take that summer. There was a huge problem with the instructor. They wound up kicking him out of the school, and so here about 50 students were left without being able to complete the course, which made them ineligible to go into the nursing program. And at that point, I was just so frustrated. And now that I look back at it, I see that these were all stop signs from the universe saying, don't go any further, don't go any further. But I was listening to all those people around me who said, you just got to try harder, nothing comes easy. You're supposed to be an RN. Just keep going. It's all going to work out in the end. So I just kept listening to their voices instead of seeing the stop signs that were coming up. They told me, because of this incident with this instructor, they said, listen, what we can do for you is you can double up your courses in the fall, and then because you're already an LPN, you can petition to skip over nursing 1 and go right into nursing 2. I said, okay, I'm going to do what I got to do. Again, it was a struggle to hold the double course. So I just had all of these difficulties trying to do that. I just wasn't able to maintain that. And at the time, we had a brand new baby. I was still working full time. It just was not working for me. So I went to a regular course, which meant I had to wait a whole other year before I could get into the program again. But listening to all those voices, I'm gonna keep forging forward. Finally get into the program in 2010, 2011-ish, and I'm starting the nursing program, and I fail out of the nursing program. Can you imagine my surprise? I'm failing out of the nursing program. I get this note from my advisor basically saying, sorry, you're not going to make it through this program unless you do something drastic. And I'm done at this point. I am just totally spent. I go to my advisor's office and I'm just bawling my eyes out. I'm like, this can't be happening to me. I am smart and I've spent all this time and money and effort. I've done everything you've told me to do, and now you're telling me I can't be a nurse? I can't be an RN? I just felt my whole world shatter into a million pieces. This ideal that I had of other people telling me what I was supposed to be. And I'm just crying from the bottom of my soul. And then all of a sudden I got really calm. And I call it my cosmic bitch slap. Because at that moment, it just became clear to me. I saw all the stop signs. I saw all the breadcrumbs that said, this is not the way to go, girl. And it, this message just came really loud in my head that said, you're not supposed to be an RN. And we had to stop you. We had no doubt in our mind that you would do the coursework and you would graduate, but that's not your path. And you're not supposed to be an RN. We have another path for you. And we had to do something drastic to get in your way. I mean, they really drastically changed my life. I mean, every part of my life started falling apart. Not only was I failing out of school, I was just, every single aspect of my life was falling apart. I was having problems at work, and it was just crazy. So I was like, okay, I'm not supposed to be an RN. Now what do? I've spent all this money and time and effort. What am I going to do? And they said, well, because of the way things worked out, you actually had to take you wound up taking more sciences than you needed. And you actually can graduate in May. You only need one more credit, and it's in health and wellness. And we actually have two classes that just happen to have an opening if you want to take it. One was on meditation, and one was on codependency. That's a whole other video blog. So I took both classes, which were amazingly transformational for me. Meditation just really opened the door for me to really start listening to my guides and to follow the breadcrumbs as they were laid out for me. Because I was so open to listening to those messages, things started coming up for me to move to Portland. I would read a newspaper and it would be about Portland. I would see something on TV and it would be about Portland. I remember I was getting a cup of tea and the little wrapper around the cup said printed in Portland. And my husband is originally from here. He'd been living back east for some time. And I said to him, I think this is the year that we're supposed to move to Portland. And everything just aligned perfectly for us to move here. I worked for the VA hospital back in New York, and I had been looking over the years for jobs in Portland at the VA hospital here, and there was never any LPN jobs here. And at the time when we made that decision to move, tons of LPN jobs opened up. I mean, just out of the blue, all of these jobs came open. I interviewed for several of them. I was offered 3 of them, and I picked obviously one of them, which made it easy for me to move here. And I remember when we went to go pick up our U-Haul had Mount Hood on it, and I was just laughing, and I said to the guy, I said, did you give this to us because you knew we were going to Oregon? He's like, lady, I don't know where you're going. He's like, this is the last one on the lot. And I just laughed to myself because I knew that that was the universe saying you are totally on the right path. My husband and I and his aunt and our 2-year-old at the time drove across the country. We didn't have so much as a flat tire. I mean, our trip here, but across the country was so smooth. And traveling with a 2-year-old, that could be challenging in itself. But we were just so guided to come here and do work, and we got here, and it was just really a blessing. Once I got here, I've been getting messages before I moved here about Reiki, Everywhere I looked, and I heard the word Reiki, 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 Reiki. Back in New York, the VA system there that I worked at, we had a Reiki master on staff. Most of the nursing staff where I was working at the time had some Reiki training to provide that to their long-term care patients. But every time I tried to connect with somebody about learning Reiki in New York, it just didn't work out. So I got to Portland, and the first thing I did was look into, I got to the VA, and I assumed because this is Portland, you can throw a stick and hit a healer or some kind of holistic kind of healthcare, that the VA would have, the most amazing holistic healthcare kind of system in place. And to my surprise, we had nothing. Nothing. I was just so shocked. I mean, Portland, mecca of all sorts of great, wonderful healing modalities, and there was nothing at the VA. So the message became very clear to me that that was why I was brought here to Portland, was to change that in the VA system here in Portland. I looked up several instructors in the area, and I was very drawn to Michelle Garnier Winkler, who became my Reiki mentor, and I took all of my classes with her, and she was amazing, and she really helped me to step into that power of really changing things in the VA system. I started doing stand-downs, events where it's like a veteran fair, if you don't know what it is. And it's meant for homeless veterans, but it's kind of reaches all veteran populations, and it's kind of changed and formed into this veteran fair of all kinds of services under one roof. I remember after the stand down, I was just like feeling so invigorated because there was such positive response to these veterans receiving Reiki for the first time. And I was like, how do I grow this? How do I make this happen? And I go back to my office, and I'm standing there at the copier, and there's this big, huge poster in front of my face. And I've seen this poster a million times. I've never really read it, because whatever. And I start reading the poster. And in the poster, it talks about a Reiki project that this VA did. And the poster is probably 7 years old. The date on it's 7 years old. But there's some email information about the people who presented the poster. And so I emailed them. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a Reiki master, and what happened to this project? I know it's not here now. What happened? And so they said, well, we have an integrative health committee, and but the committee is not officially sanctioned by the hospital. So basically anything that we produce really never goes anywhere. So that's kind of, we had this Reiki project, and it kind of just was dead on arrival. I said, I don't care. I want to be on this committee. What do I have to do? I don't care if it's officially sanctioned or not. I just knew 100% that this was a breadcrumb. And I get an email that says, welcome to the committee. Oh, and by the way, we just got officially sanctioned by the hospital. This committee had been in existence for over 7 years and never gotten official sanction. For me to be joining this committee, and all of a sudden at the same time it is officially sanctioned, that was a huge breadcrumb. I get on the committee, and they say one of the things that the hospital would like is, now that we're officially sanctioned, is some basically plans of action, some projects that we want to put forward. And since they said, well, since you are all into Reiki, we would like you to put forth a proposal for Reiki and write the official policy procedure and, the proposal for the hospital. I never wrote a proposal or a policy or procedure in my life. Here I am, this LPN, who in my mind has been told all of this time that you're never going to amount to anything because you're only an LPN, surrounded by all of these RNs and people with master's degrees and bachelor's degrees, and I'm thinking, I can't do this. How am I supposed to do this? And I tried to write the policy procedure, and I just kept getting stuck with the language. So I kept meditating on it, and I just said, listen, God, if this is what I'm supposed to do, you need to help me with this language, or help me find a way that I can turn this into something that doctors and nurses can easily understand and that they would be able to buy into because they understand the language. And I just wasn't able to translate the language of Reiki into something that medical professionals could easily digest. So I go to a committee meeting, and we are told that we have the option to join in on a $500,000 grant for several VAs in the United States to participate in teaching nursing staff and hospital staff healing touch. I was like, what's healing touch? I've never heard of healing touch. So I did the research and I started looking into their program, and this was a huge breadcrumb. This program was created by a nurse. It spoke the language of nursing. It was energy medicine, like Reiki is energy medicine, but it spoke the language of doctors and nurses. This is what I was looking for. This is what I needed to bring this forward. I mean, let's face it, energy medicine is energy medicine. We are not the ones doing the work. This work is being done by the divine. And however that happens, that as long as it's for that person's ultimate and highest good, that's whatever vehicle it shows up in, that's the vehicle that is the best suited for them. And if it means that it was through healing touch, then this is the way to get veterans the help that they needed, and this was what was important to try out. So I got really excited, and I called two of the women who were on the grant, and I asked them for a meeting, and I don't know what they were thinking when they first met me. Here's this little LPN, who is she to call us for a meeting and say, we are going to go and do this? But that's what I did, and I knew I was being supported by the universe and God, and so I did it. I helped move this forward, and we were able to train well over 70 nurses. And actually, not just nurses. It was really important to me that we trained other staff too. We have a food service worker who was trained. We have managers who were trained. We have people who are secretaries trained, because everybody has the ability to be a part of the veteran's care and be of service to that veteran. We started doing lots of events, stand downs, stand ups. I felt it was really important to let nurses and doctors experience this, because you can't prescribe to something that is such a far-fetched idea for you if you haven't experienced it yourself. So we started doing nursing week events, employee picnics, and I started collecting data on the effectiveness on veterans dealing with pain and anxiety using these healing techniques. And I was able to present that information with some colleagues of mine this last year at a worldwide Healing Touch conference in a poster presentation on the effectiveness of healing touch on veterans. I would have never thought, if you would have told me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that I was going to, lead the charge in changing a medical facility's practices, changing the culture in a medical facility, standing up in front of hundreds of people giving data research, let alone doing research at all. Like I mentioned before, math, not my strong suit. But I followed the breadcrumbs, and I was supported during that whole journey. During that journey, I just really wanted to be able to do this as a full-time occupation, to really step into that power of doing healing work. And I just kept meditating on it. And a couple months ago, Michelle and I wound up having lunch. She kind of texted me out of the blue and said, hey, yes, let's get together. And we were eating lunch, and she's like, I'm moving to New York. And I've been meditating on this for a long time and asking, who's supposed to take my place? And it's you. And I know I had been asking for this, but it was really surprising. I mean, here's my mentor, somebody I look up to, telling me, "You're going to take my place." And I just thought, oh my God, she knows everybody. She's trained so many people. I mean, there's got to be somebody more qualified than me. But, and I said, "Thank you." And she's like, "Don't thank me." She's like, "I'm not giving you a gift." She's like, "This is what's supposed to happen. This is what the universe said is supposed to happen." And, I just had to be okay with knowing that, you asked for this and you've been following these breadcrumbs all along. So now it's time for you to do that. So I got an office space and started seeing clients there and teaching there, and it's been wonderful. And I look forward to all the wonderful and beautiful things that come from that. I have two very supportive, wonderful business partners and an extremely wonderful and supportive husband who, without his support and him believing in me, would have been really difficult on this journey. But whatever crazy idea I get in my head from, the messages that I receive, he's always 100% on board, and, letting me fly and jump off cliffs that seem crazy sometimes, but because we follow those breadcrumbs together, it's made our marriage stronger, and it's just given us a really great life. Don't get me wrong, we have our problems and, we have difficulties just like everyone else. But when we truly do follow the breadcrumbs, life gets just a little bit easier and it's just not so hard. So that's my story. Talk to you again soon. Bye.